The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday, the beginning of another dazzling week in the rib.
And, of course, it started off with a big bang over the weekend at the Cultural Center.
Yes.
And it's amazing that Pravda did not cover that at all. And the people of Fall River had to find out about it through WJR-10 and other media outlets over the air. So
It was big enough to make the local news on television, but not big enough to make the local news. I guess they want to protect it so we can get a cultural and arts director. Maybe actually maybe one of the prerequisites could be they have to be a qualified referee.
I guess so. I think it's funny, but sorry about that. We're not on the air. I'm looking at the screen, so I'm just letting people know upstairs.
Not on the air. Okay.
We always have that problem, it seems. But
so we're talking to ourselves, which sometimes is the best.
Sometimes it's the best thing in the world.
That's right.
But I know they're going to come down and fix it shortly. This just gets to be crazy. This is the rebranding campaign that we have, that shows drug addiction, violent crime, and I wrote in the Weekend Flush.
Roles in the cultural center.
Yeah. And and as you said, that's what that new position that I guess the mayor wants to create is going to do. They're going to govern, the cultural center issue. So it's going to be very funny, to say the least.
Yeah, the least is right. Look, you know how I feel about rebranding. It's like I want to retool, get some new jobs here. Get jobs. That's what's going to create. Put people to work. Give them some money, and then those people will then buy things, and then we will have a business. The rebranding is again for the millionth time attempting to put lipstick on a pig. So forgive me if I don't go hog wild over that. And that will let you segue right into the next thing. CJ.
Yeah, hold on one second.
You like that pun?
Still trying to get us on the air. Okay. The segue to the next thing is the fact that here's another rebranding opportunity for us. Westport Farm owner, 26 of the tenants are indicted in New England's largest animal cruelty case, and so was the farm owner. 151. 151 indictments.
1,400 animals. 1,400 animals.
Right.
That is appalling. Just appalling.
And after we had made this announcement to our viewers and via social media and other outlets, the phone calls started coming in. As you know, our viewers and our followers are very, very clear on what they have to have. And we always find it funny that this happens. And our technician is now on, the reason why we're not on the air. But I think what's funny is the majority of these people came from Fall River.
Yes. And a couple from New Bedford, but mostly Fall River again. In every negative category or every negative story we can read, Fall River will be right at the top. So let's see. We've got...
I believe there's 20 from Fall River.
Out of
27.
Out of 27 indictments.
Right.
I'll tell you, we're definitely number one by a ton.
Three from New Bedford, 2 from Westport.
Yeah. One from Dighton.
One from Dighton.
Yeah.
And then, obviously the owner. So, this gets to be crazy because the phone calls we started getting, again, these are allegations. We have no confirmation of this. We're working on finding out what's going on. But people are saying that some of these animals were used in the city and in other cities and in the area in general for various feasts. We're back on the air. Hello, people. Sorry we were late.
Watch at 5 o'clock. You'll get the show from the beginning.
Exactly. Watch at 5. You'll get the show from the beginning. So they called in. They said these animals may have been used at other feasts and feasts throughout the city and maybe New Bedford, and in the area. I have a problem with that if that's the case. I have a serious problem. So
I got a serious problem with the whole issue because
So do I.
I'm looking at this. They're an equal opportunity abuser. Dogs, cats, cows, horses, pigs, goats, sheep, chickens, rabbits. I guess the only thing they didn't abuse was a unicorn.
Yeah.
So, but when I read this, and it disturbs me being an animal lover, but I'm reminded of what Gandhi once said. A society can be judged by the way it treats its animals and its elderly.
Yep. And we're batting 1,000.
And we're batting 1,000 there, I'll tell you, because this is just absolutely appalling. And if you see pictures of these animals, they weren't like, they were severely abused. Some of them died from starvation and lack of water. I mean, if I had my way, they're lucky I'm not a judge, because they better not make me the judge. Because as far as I'm concerned, I would do exactly, I would incorporate Hammurabi's law. I would do to them what they did to the animals. I'd chain them to a post and leave them there until they died from lack of water, lack of food, or maybe a few baseball bats off the head, because that's what they need.
Well, and this is the problem, because and the town officials in Westport are partially to blame for this.
They're all to blame.
Yeah.
They have been cited before.
Right.
And they allowed that abuse to continue on. As far as I'm concerned, the inspectors in Westport should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
I agree.
Even as vigorously, if not more vigorously, than the abusers, because they were supposed to be following up. This travesty had been cited previously.
And this is the problem we have.
And it's like they're collecting their money and not doing their job, and some of them weren't even qualified to be inspectors, and that all came out on the Channel 10.
Yep, I know.
And this is absolutely, as I said, it's disgusting
nauseating
to me. Those people, then I'm reminded again of why Mark Twain made his famous statement: "Man is the only animal that can blush and the only one that needs to."
Exactly.
Because what we do to animals and people are just beyond human comprehension.
I know. Well, I guess our failed forward police station's back in the news. Only this time it's the unlicensed real estate broker. Now, here's what I think is funny. According to the Bar Association, when they tried to file complaints against former corporate counsel Liz Souza, the corporate counsel works for the mayor of the city. Nobody else. Corporate counsel works for the mayor. Now, Joe Macy constantly says, no, he represents everyone. But when you file a complaint, they say, no, he works for the mayor. But he's going to investigate the contract that the mayor signed?
Well,
I think that's a little bit of conflicting information.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be. Let me take a wild guess at what's going to end up at this investigation. It's either going to be a finding of no finding, or there's going to be a finding that the mayor had absolutely no culpability. That was all the other guy's fault. The mayor enters into a contract and he has no obligation to ensure that that contract is lived up to. Well, I don't know any other supervisor that's not responsible for anything that he put his John Hancock on, or in this case his Jazel Correa II on. But I mean, this is another political. There's a lot of heat about this. People are disgusted. Get $25,000 for doing nothing to another friend, and do it prior to even before you're elected, and all the ducks are put in order. Another classic case of patronage, and now they're going to get the Fox to investigate the hen house.
Yep. It's disgusting. You know, it really is. You just don't know what to do anymore. And the worst part about it is when you have a government and a bunch of elected officials that could care less what the people have to say, absolutely care less what the people have to say, and they're actually working on removing your rights with this new charter.
Yeah.
They're working on taking away your rights as a voter.
And making it much harder for you to ever get a political position.
Exactly.
Unless you're connected with the rest of the monarchs.
Exactly. You know, if you want to create a dictatorship in Fall River, just change the charter to say the mayor shall serve, you know, for time immemorial as the dictatorial body of the city. No other body is necessary. His rule is law. Section 1, verse 1, end of charter.
So, and, you know, if somebody really truly believes in that form of government, you know, so be it. You know, they have a right in this country to be in favor of communism or socialism or whatever. But let's not pretend that we have a government. Let's just pretend that we have a monarch.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And so, I mean, at least be upfront. If you're one of the people that think that the city council should always agree with the mayor, and that the city council is merely an extension of the mayor's office, not a separate legislative body that is supposed to be a check and balance, well, that's your prerogative. But the fact is, if that's your prerogative, don't call yourself a conservative or even a liberal, because then you're an ultra left-wing liberal, because now you're a socialist. So, because you believe in socialism, everybody works for the state, and the state is Jazel, in this case. Well, I mean, whoever the mayor is.
Yep.
In this case, it's Jazel. So, there are people who truly believe that he should be given unfettered, latitude to do anything he wants, no matter how ridiculous and absurd it is, and run us into receivership, and they'll say, well, but they were still good ideas. They didn't work.
I'm getting so tired. I'm getting so tired of hearing that from the three nitwits on the council and from the 6th floor and his press secretary. But the interesting part about it is Fall River has been talking trash for how many years now? Way too many. Well, now we find out that the Fall River taxpayer has been paying to get rid of the trash from the housing authority.
That's right.
So much so that the contracted body, Cleanway, continued to dump housing authority trash at no cost from 2009 to 2014. They didn't have to pay a fee, because guess who was paying it?
We were.
The city of Fall River.
And it's taxpayers. Because the city of Fall River doesn't pay anything. We pay it.
Now, I'm going to tell you now, 2 years ago, a citizen, Nikki Medeiros, who I call the Encyclopedia of Fall River Refuse, all right? She has been digging into the trash in Fall River for a long time. And I'm going to tell you now, I don't know how she keeps coming out of this smelling like a rose, but she does, because she knows what's out there. You want information on Fall River's trash? Go talk to Nikki Medeiros.
Yeah, she is definitely the go-to source.
Yeah, she
has the finger on the pulse of the trash.
Exactly. And it's real. And again, as I said to the city council, it's extremely sad that the citizens have to keep track of everything, and the city council and the mayor either have no clue or deliberately ignore it.
Yeah, you're right. It's a sad commentary that when we're talking trash, that Nikki Medeiros has to go in and explain to the city and the city council what's going on, and that as you did at the last, when you went before the council and talked about the contract. These things are all readily accessible, whether it's health care, whether it's the retirement system. It shouldn't take you or Nikki or me to go up there to tell them that the city's paying late into the retirement fund, and therefore it's going to increase the unfunded liability. And it shouldn't take you to go in there to tell them that this guy doesn't have the correct licensing. They were in receivership. Shouldn't take Nikki to tell them about trash and anybody else who goes up there and enlightens them, because realistically, they're supposed to be doing a job. If we can find it out, they can find it out. It's not like we've got some magical source that they can't access. They actually have more access to governmental records than we do, and without jumping through hoops. So that's, you're right. It's just, it shouldn't be this way, but it is.
It's land of the bizarre.
Bizarro world. That's what it's doing.
I think Nikki and I should get together, and I think we should stop billing the city for doing the research they should be doing.
I really enjoyed Nikki at the debate, because when we started talking trash, I mean, that's pretty good. That's almost like a pun, talking trash.
That's right.
We were talking trash. But, I mean, she always came up with some, phenomenal questions, and she could always ask a follow-up question because she's so well-versed. And, she knows her stuff on that stuff. And I think that was a real good one at the last mayoral debate that we had.
Oh, yeah.
And it's always good to have somebody on the panel who's engaged as a regular person. I mean, it's nice to have guys like Bill Rapley, who have been political reporters for years, and he got, tremendous. They bring something to the table. But remember, when we have debates, we're questioning people who are supposed to represent us. It's nice to have one of us on the panel, and that's what we always try to do here. We always try to put, a regular person, quote unquote, on the panel to kind of represent the people who were getting beat severely about their head and shoulders with taxes and fees.
Yeah, well, and again, the election season starts in 3 weeks. And we're already starting to put together the amazing, the undeniable best debate in the whole area, the People's Debate. So if you're interested in participating in the People's Debate, get in touch with us now, because we're putting it together, because this year we may not have one mayoral debate. We may have a school committee forum. And we're looking at doing that as well, because it looks like right now there may be 4 seats vacant, because we have 2 people which we have absolute confirmation of are not running, and we've gotten 2 people who say they are running. Joe Martin did recently come out on the Richard Urban Show and said he will be running for school committee, and Paul Coogan said he will be running for school committee. So that leaves the other 2, and we don't know what their status is going to be right now, but that could be 4. And if we have 4 available seats, we will have to do a school committee forum. And I doubt they'll be able to handle some of the questions that come out about that, especially from the SPED parents, who are still getting the shaft on everything. So, another thing about Fall River coming up, the rehabilitation of Cook Pond. A letter was written to Pravda by Mr. Francis Canula. And Richard Urban, who does a show here with us, is chairman of the Friends of Cook Pond Committee. They're scheduling a meeting in a couple of weeks for some actions, including an underwater survey of Cook Pond. They might find Jimmy Hoffa. They went doing underwater surveys. They found the Titanic, so they might find something under there that, besides a 1956 Chevy. But that's going to be coming up shortly, so be looking forward to that. It's amazing, because when Fall River makes the news for a good thing, nobody really talks about it. And, City Council Perry told me, why do they always talk about the bad things? Why do they always talk about the bad things? It's because there's so many bad things that, you really can't talk about anything else. But the Navy in Bath, Maine, you know where that is, right, Chip?
Yeah, at the Bath Shipyard. That's the foundation of the economy in the state of Maine, actually.
Right.
And yeah, this is we talk about all the negative. Here's a positive. A lot of people don't know, that Fall River, we know there are many veterans in Fall River, as from all blue-collar towns, but we have a Medal of Honor winner. the highest award given by the United States to military personnel. And Fall River has a Medal of Honor winner. And the fact is that Thomas Hudner Jr., who, if some of us will remember the Hudner building, when it was still called the Hudner building, and I think it's worth a few minutes here. He earned this Medal of Honor at the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir, and for those of you who are not military historians, that is one of the most famous battles of the Korean War. It's called the Battle of the Frozen Chosin Reservoir because of the horrific cold and how many people we lost just to the bitter cold at the Chosin Reservoir. And this fundamentally is what happened. On December 5th, 1950, Hudner was flying to provide air support for ground troops during the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir. He made a pass, firing at North Korean troops, when he saw his wingman, Ensign Jesse Brown, take a hit and crash on a mountaintop. At the christening Saturday, those who gathered watched a video recording of Hudner describing how he made a wheels-up landing on 18 inches of snow and tried without success to pry Brown from the burning plane. Charles Ward, a helicopter pilot, joined Hudner, and together they tried to free Brown until after Brown died. They took off as darkness fell, and Hudner won the Medal of Honor for his efforts. He's now 92, and he watched the ceremony from a wheelchair. And, you know, when you read something like this, it reminds you of why I've always said that if we're going to dedicate anything to anybody, it should be to men who gave the ultimate sacrifice. And there's 58,000 just from Vietnam, plus Second World and every war we ever fought. And after we run out of heroes who died for their country, we can begin on the list of Medal of Honor winners like Mr. Hudner.
I agree.
Because you can disagree with me all you want, and it's not that I don't respect these men, but I don't think naming a school after Carlton Viveris or Mary Fonseca really is appropriate in this country. They were politicians. And whether you like or dislike them, I don't think that. I think with the not thousands but millions of men who died and bled for this country, I've always been of the opinion that every street, every bridge, if it's going to have a name, they should name it after someone who died for this nation, and that's just my opinion. So, and this is a story. So remember, when you think Fall River doesn't have good people in it, and when we talk about Fall River, not doing the right thing, and Fall River being a mess right now, it's not saying that people in Fall River, we don't have good people, because we do. And Mr. Hudner is one of the prime examples of that. A Medal of Honor winner who lives in Maine now, but his family was a very, very, very influential family in this city. And it just goes to prove we've had many, many people serve their nation honorably. And, so when we talk about Fall River, we're talking about the politics of Fall River, not the people. There are many, many, many good people in this city. That's why it disturbs the many, many good people who live in this city when we see people who are not good people not only being brought into the city, but being encouraged to come to this city.
And that creates our brand. And that creates our brand. And that's the problem. That's the brand that we as a city, where we as the elected officials, where we as the people of Fall River allow that to become our brand. And this is the problem. I mean, the Hudner family was tremendous in Fall River throughout a great period of time here in Fall River. I mean, just look at it. You've got Hudner Oncology. You have the Hudner Building. They were pivotal. It's like the Abbotts, the Bordens, the Durfees. There are names which just go down in the history of Fall River. Founding families, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, the problem we have is that our elected officials, more particularly our administrations, have sold the city out for a few kernels of corn that they threw into the wind, hoping that the magic beanstalk would open up and they could get the goose that laid the golden egg. Instead, they threw it into the field, and they got a bunch of seagulls that came down and took a dump all over the city. So this is what happens. This is what happens. This is what Fall River has become. And you, as a populace, you as the people of Fall River, have allowed it to become that way. You voted for a group of people to create a new charter. And it wasn't even to create a new charter, it was to review the old charter, to make minor changes. But instead, their $40,000 consultant said, I'm not doing that, this is what we're doing. That's not what you voted for. And now they want to take away your rights. They want to make it more hard, more difficult for you to get involved in the electoral process. This is why I can't support that. I can't support a mayor who's going to turn around and say, yeah, bring more junkie beds to Fall River because we need them, but we're not going to get use of them. Anyone in the state is going to have use of them.
And I think that's an extremely important point, and I know you should, every time anything comes up about this, that should be the opening sentence, because most people are not aware, as you are, because obviously you're being a healthcare professional, you understand the issue. You know how it's set up. It's not set up that Fall River, that's only for Fall River people. It's not. As you said, it's on a first-come, first-served basis. And most of the time, most of those beds are occupied by people who are not from Fall River.
Exactly. Very rarely do you see every bed occupied from someone from Fall River.
But once they go there and they get kicked out,
they stay here.
They become Fall River people.
That's right. And that's why you have such an increase in homelessness and everything else. It's terrible. I'm looking forward to this week in politics because I want to see what happens here. But I had commented over the weekend about the fact that, we have the rumors that Carol and Sam are going to run. And Carol has not confirmed or denied, although Ken did say she wasn't, but then he said, I'm not going to speak for her. And Sam hasn't confirmed or denied. So it's interesting because it's already changing the face of the campaigns. Because automatically now, Richard Cabaceres has dropped off the side, and I guess they're going to be attacking him or attacking somebody today on the airwaves. So it's going to be interesting to see how this campaign pans out for the people. And I'm a little disturbed in the fact that it's still so late in the year for an election campaign to start up. But if it's a good campaign, I don't care if they started up the last day of the nomination process. Yeah. If it's a good campaign, they can get the support.
Yeah, it was also nice to read that little editorial because it draws a little bit of focus by Will Richmond. He talked about the mayor not going in for his for the loan order because he said he was going to depend on Trump and hopefully they were going to roll back some EPA so he didn't have to do the CSO and stuff like this. But then he then points out that now that they're talking about something else, he's hoping that it was all hot air from Trump because now he's looking for funding from block grants, but now they're talking about him eliminating block grants from his budget. So that's the MO of the city. We're like schizophrenic. I always say that. We're like bipolar. It's like, okay, I don't want to put this giant grant on the ballot when I'm running for re-election, so I'll use this. Well, we might be able to get out of this because the new president is saying it. But then now I'm also going to run another part of the city on block grants, but we forget the fact that this president also said he was going to eliminate block grants. So, again, our bipolarness strikes again.
We always have a bipolar government. And again, our city's reactionary. They're not proactive. Hey, have a great day, and we'll see you on Wednesday because we're going to have more for you then.
That's right. See you on Hump Day.
Yep. Keep those cards and letters coming.